First thing we have to do is to remove the negative battery cable from the battery. So it's nice and safe to work on. Sure that doesn't touch the terminal. Make sure that our vehicle is up in the air so we can get underneath it. Because the next thing we have to do is we have to remove this plastic cover underneath the engine. There's a whole bunch of bolts and we got to remove that now. Now, these bolts have been in here a long time, and we live in the salt belt. So we're going to give them a little squirt of penetrating oil. We want to be careful we don't bust them. They're going to be very easy to bust. So we're going to use a little impact. There it is, starting to loosen up, and we got it. You can see the rust on the threads there. It's a very small bolt. So we're going to do that to all the bolts so we hopefully don't break them. Next thing we have to do is to remove this 10mm nut on the solenoid. It goes to the small wire, the start wire. Alright, it's getting loose. It's almost there. Got it. That wire is in a loom and it has a little connection right here, so we gotta move that out of there. Okay, there we go. Now we got some play in there. So the next thing we got to do is to remove the nut that secures the main power cable to our starter, 13mm nut. Okay. at that. So all our wires are off the starter now. Next thing we have to do is to remove that nut on the end of the stud on the top bolt of the starter. It's 13 millimeter. I'm up on top. Now what I'm going to do is go underneath so I don't drop that nut. So move that cable up. Alright, so we got a deep socket on there. Stud is loose. Stud bolt. Alright, take that socket off there. Go underneath there and grab that bolt. Next we need to remove the bottom 13 millimeter headed bolt. Almost there. There's the bolt. What's my other bolts? Keep them all together. Alright, let's see if we can get the starter out now. Alright, there it is. Here's the new starter. Going in. We want to find the locating pins. Let's start the bottom bolt. And the top bolt. We'll get those as far as we can by hand. Bottom one's tight. You can hardly see the top one from down here. Okay, all snugged in. I just put the cable on the top stud bolt of the starter. Now we got to put the nut on that and tighten that down. Alright, starter's all in. Main cable's on. Starter wire is connected to the solenoid. Bolts are all tight. Everything's back into position. But we're not done yet. So the next thing we got to do is we got to put that plastic cover back on. And it'd be a good idea to clean those bolts so they'll be in good shape for the next time. Hopefully there won't be a next time, but you got to be prepared. Next, for the cover that goes underneath the engine. Now they have a neat little couple of hooks on the front of it, so you can just put the hook on the cross member, and now you don't have to hold up the back, just hold up the front. And once we start one bolt, she should stay up there. Okay, we got it started. There, just one bolt, and it's partially up, and so now you can get at the rest of the bolts. Next thing we have to do is put the negative battery cable on the battery, which I have just done. And when you do that, the headlights come on momentarily for about, 10 seconds or so, and then they'll shut off. And normally when you start the vehicle up, after the battery's been disconnected, it will crank a little bit longer than normal because you've wiped out the memory in the computer. Alright, starter's all in, and she's starting fine. Alright, so that's a job well done. So that's all there is to put a starter in your Ford Fusion.